those people in the room just to introduce themselves so you know who is here. I'll start. I'm Peter Black. I'm the chair of the Scrutiny Performance Panel, and I move on to my left now.
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Hawkins. I'm the Head of Adult Services and Tackling Poverty.
Lee Cambouli, I'm the Principal Officer for Tackling Poverty.
I'm Anthony Richards. I'm the Tackling Poverty Development Team Manager.
Councillor Robert Francis Davis, Cabinet Member, Investment, Regeneration, Tourism.
Paul Ralph, Strategic Economic Regeneration Manager.
Claire James, Senior Economic Regeneration Manager.
Matt Callahan, Economic Regeneration Manager.
Stephen Williams, Economic Regeneration Manager.
Debbie Smith, Legal Advisor.
Good afternoon, Samantha Woon, Democratic Services Officer.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. Right, start off with item 1, which is apologies for absence. I've had an apology of Councillor Adam Davis. Has anybody else got any apologies at all for us? No? Okay.
Chair, sorry, there's apologies from Councillor Wendy Fitzgerald, although there's a slight chance that she may join partway through, but if she's unable to, it's apologies.
Okay, thank you, Bridge. Next item is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Has anybody got anything they want to declare? Councillors or officers? No? Okay, thank you very much. And then we've got prohibition of whip votes and declaration of party whips. And then after that, we have the minutes of the last meeting, which is agenda item 4, which from the 14th of November, which largely relates to antisocial behaviour, scrutiny inquiry panel, the Children and Young People's Rights Scheme, the annual report for corporate safeguarding, and the follow-up scrutiny working group on bus services. So just for accuracy, on page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Can I take it those that people are happy to accept those as accurate? Lovely. I shall take silence as consent. Thank you very much. In that case, we're going to move on to public question time. I'm not aware of any public questions having been lodged. No. So in that case, we're going to move straight on to item 6, which is the report on the delivery of the corporate priority of tackling poverty and enabling communities. Can I welcome Councillor Alison Anthony, who's the Cabinet Member for Wellbeing and the lead member for poverty reduction. I don't know if Rob Stewart is with us. At all.
No, he isn't, Chair. He gives his apologies. He isn't. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. And we've got Amy Hawkins and Lee Cambouli, and we've also got Hayley Gwilliam here, and Dave Howes. Is Dave Howes here as well? No, just Hayley, is it? Okay. Alison, do you want to introduce this item?
Yes, please, Chair. You quickly just to introduce the report. As you can see, the officers are here and can give you more details. But you know, as we know, poverty is a priority for Swansea Council. Poverty is complex. It has huge impacts on people's lives, as we know. I would like to put on record, Chair, thank to all the officers, because it has been a hard year. It's been a very emotional year as well, and you know, people have gone above and beyond to try and help people out there, because you know, internally and externally, we've worked in fabulous partnership within the council and external as well, you know, to try and meet the need and to be able to respond in the best way, you know, to help people. And we have fantastic teams. You know, we have, as the report will show you, you know, the welfare rights and how they can hugely change people's lives, because so many people are not getting the right benefits. They don't know where to start. You know, the poverty team and all, you know, Mark Gosney's team and everybody that worked with these, you know, over £1 million in grants this year, going out and at a very fast pace to try and help the most people in need out there, the employability teams that wrap around people and have to sort of, often people are so far removed from being ready for a job, you know, they need such intensive support, our lifelong learning teams that are out there. You know, sometimes people come in because they do something nice, but then they help and they build out, and then they, you know, we've had people coming through and having careers and setting up, becoming self-employed and everything from it. You know, Hayley is your Councillor Gwilym, you know, and I'm sure she could talk about our engagement teams and everything out there. We really are trying from all angles to help as many people as possible. And you know, the cost of living crisis is brutal on people. There's no two ways about it. But everybody here are determined to try and ease that burden for people. You'll see the figures in the report and that they are rising. We have out the working partnership to achieve the maximum benefits. And, you know, when you look at how innovative Swansea had been in sort of paving the way, and it came from Scrutiny originally, the Poverty Truth Commission, little gem at the beginning, the little idea, it came from Scrutiny, it came through what was the Poverty PDC at the time, and then the partnership that is built, and myself and Dave Howes sit on the Poverty Truth Commission, where that partnership working is just unbelievable, and the community members are people that have all experienced the worst sides, you know, of the struggles in poverty, and they are helping us and will help us to help people in the best way. And I don't think you can learn in a better way than co-producing work like that from people who have really experienced poverty. So just to say, you know, thank you for having us here today, and any questions, the officers will come in and I will come in if you need be as well. So just thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Alison. Assuming that we've all read the report, would Amy and Lee like to add anything?
Very happy to just talk quickly through the key points of the report, if that's okay, Chair. Yeah. So yes, around afternoon, everyone. Yeah. So last year, the report we presented really focused on the council's continuing efforts to tackle poverty and deliver our range of commitments. In April, the council's corporate plan included tackling poverty and enabling communities so that every person in Swansea can achieve their potential. This extended focus of the priority recognises the importance of a strengths-based approach when we work with individuals, communities, partners and networks. So this year's report, as Alison has already kind of said, recognises that poverty continues to be a complex, multidimensional, growing challenge. It's impacting more communities and people across Wales. At a recent Child Poverty Summit, I heard the expression that poverty is described as a nexus, and I think that accurately reflects the connections, the multiple issues and challenges that means around a quarter of people in Wales are currently living in poverty. So as well as the long-term impacts of the cost of living crisis and so on, there's lots of other significant challenges. So as it is a lengthy document full of narrative, case studies and so on, I won't go through it all, don't worry, but I will succinctly draw your attention just to the main headlines around section 5, because that's our sort of the key steps towards achieving the priority in the corporate plan. If anyone does want to follow, it's around page 19 of the report or 28 of the agenda, but I will be succinct as I can. So step 1, first of all, is around our strategic direction, where we've developed methods of working with people with lived experience to co-produce and published our aligned visions, outcomes and priorities. We are currently working on the refresh of the Council's Tackling Poverty strategy, which we're planning to issue for public consultation in the new year. A survey that we conducted for the team in August provided over 300 responses and many powerful insights from people in Swansea. One that sticks out for me is a comment somebody made around poverty has devastated my life and my family. And I think that says exactly why we're here. As Alison said, working with the Poverty Truth Commission and our networks of partners to explore lots of different ways that we can get people with lived experience involved in our strategic journey. Step 2 then is around the response to the cost of living crisis. Our aim was to reduce levels of poverty and mitigate the impacts for people who've been in poverty. We've contributed to that through resources like the Council's Cost of Living webpage, which has had over 112,000 views in just over a year. A wide range of grants and benefits that helps individuals, families and organisations. and many events and activities to provide zero or low cost alternatives for people impacted by poverty, from free bus travel offers to cultural events like events at Swansea Museum. Since April alone, we've raised over £1 million for people just by securing rights and entitlements for benefits. So a lot of great evidence in that. Step 3 then is around tackling and preventing homelessness through the Housing Support Programme strategy, which supports people who are or at risk of becoming homeless. This has been a particularly challenging area this year, as we've seen an increase in both homeless presentations and the number of households that are applying for the council's waiting list. But there is a lot of work going on to address these issues, including a review of the housing allocations policy and increasing the amount of permanent and temporary accommodation available. Step 4 is about making more energy efficient and affordable homes available to help minimise household costs and improve the availability and quality of social housing. In addition to the More Homes programme, which has delivered 247 properties since its inception, there's a lot of work going on around the new Welsh housing quality standards and help for households to access funds and initiatives to make their homes more efficient, such as the Eco4 grant and Warm Homes funding. Step 5 then, that's about improving people's personal prosperity through programmes of employability, skills development and community enhancements. This starts from sort of young age in terms of working with children, young people, where education services and Welsh Government grants help to get access to things like uniforms and food during school holidays. Continues through our promotion of learning through the libraries and our partners, right through adult community learning, and we're part of the we're a core member in fact of the Adult Learning Partnership in Swansea. Then it's all about helping people to find good, well-paid jobs, and our Communities for Work Plus programme in Swansea has been leading the way in Wales for getting people into work. Step 6 then is focused on early intervention, helping communities playing a stronger role in preventing the escalation of individual needs and integrating more with partners and local sources of support to mitigate those demands on public services. This includes our early help hubs, which are multi-agency partnerships based in 5 locations across Swansea, and our local area coordination approach, which is any one time is helping over 1,000 people to stay strong, confident and independent. A big part of that approach is that we're embedded within the communities. So we're building positive relationships and getting more direct help and support to people through things like physical literacy partnership and support through drop-in functions like our collaboration station at the National Waterfront Museum. Getting there. Step 7 takes that idea further in terms of empowering communities, embedding principles of human rights and how we help people to get more involved in the community and get involved in things like co-production, community cohesion and social value. The recent Enabling Communities grant is a great example of this, where the council provided over £500,000 to provide activities, school holiday food and warm, welcoming places. There are events and activities all across Swansea, such as those developed by our sports and health teams, and we also play a role in improving community cohesion, promoting social enterprises and things like volunteering. Step 8, that's all about keeping communities safe by tackling antisocial behaviour, targeting initiatives and supporting people who are vulnerable and at risk, because safeguarding is obviously a very key priority for the council, and part of our being part of the Safer Swansea partnership means we're committed to things like reducing neighbourhood crime and working with partners such as South Wales Police. And then finally, step 9, it's all about building community assets. We continue to grow the assets of communities all across Swansea by using a strengths-based approach to help make more resilient community-led initiatives. This goes from providing funding for things like men's sheds, developing our corporate volunteering policy, and through approaches, as I mentioned, like our award-winning local area coordination team, all about enabling communities to grow. So let's say those are the headlines in terms of the evidence of how we've been contributing to that. Very happy to delve into any more detail, but I hope this gives at least a flavour of the work that's going on across the council in many different departments and teams, and just want to say that it represents the collective efforts of so many people. So while I'm grateful for all the colleagues who contributed to this report, it just scratches the surface of the work going on to tackle poverty-enabled communities across Swansea. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. I think maybe I noticed you're on target. The Tackling Poverty Strategy aims to be published in March 24. So maybe we want to schedule a look at that from this committee during the consultation period so that we can feed into that. And I'm sure Bridge and Sam will take a note of that for the future agenda. Can I just start then? I think that I was looking in particular at the indicators, because obviously we need to see how successful all this activity. There's a huge amount of activity here, a lot of really good work going on. But in terms of the indicators in section 4.5 and section 6, they tell us what you're putting into the process, but doesn't appear to be any indicators about what the outputs are. So, I mean, there's nothing from what I can see in this document as to how you measure success. So I'm just wondering, is that going to be corrected as part of the strategy, or do you have any ideas what indicators you can put in then?
Yes, thank you. Happy to come back on that. A big part of that is the work that we're going to do around the performance framework that will support the tackling poverty strategy, and that will detail the indicators, the outcomes, the performance measures under all of the themes across tackling poverty and enabling communities. So we've started that work, developing that tool alongside the refresh of the strategy. What we've been doing so far is looking at our analysis of standards and some of the strategic drivers like the national outcomes frameworks and so on to inform some of that. But really a big part of that as well is about co-production of that with people with lived experience, so we can put those outcomes and meaningful results in sort of phrases and words they understand. But we have got some of that work starting to come together, and we would be bringing that back as part of the next stage.
So what sort of outputs will you be looking to measure?
So at the minute, we've kind of identified 116 measures of tackling poverty,
Okay.
and 43 measures of enabling communities, and they range. There's a range from levels of debt, rates of employment, number of children living in relative low-income households, and so on. So we've got some of that data exists, and it's all about collating and presenting that in the right way. Some of that we need to look at the measures in terms of how we can collate some of that in a more structured way, and some of it is just a little bit more complex for us, and we're going to have to work with people with lived experience to work out how to articulate some of that. Like when people tell us, their lived experience, how do we articulate that as outcomes?
And you have all that sorted over the next 3 months, is it?
Well, what we're going to do is present that in the next 3 months, but the co-production element of it is something that we want to take forward with others.
Okay. Sue Jones, you've got a question on definition of poverty?
Thank you, Chair. A really huge report, and thank you for that, Lee. I was just interested in the Rowntree, Joseph Rowntree definition of minimum income standard at £29,500 per annum for a single person. And I just wondered, we have huge numbers of people that are not earning anything like that within Swansea, and we registering everyone as needing help with poverty. It just seems a huge amount of money that we in Swansea are not reaching for people's jobs. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if the cabinet member wants to come back in as well, but yeah, I mean, certainly in terms of the data presenting that, you're absolutely right. It's the minimum income standard does set a very low level, and we are looking at other sources of data, and we are trying to bring some of that information around, sort of like the annual survey of hours and earnings. That was published in November, and it does tell us things like at a more local level, so it gives us the opportunity to go into sort of full-time earnings in Swansea. But I think going back to your question, this is part of the work we need to do around our definition of poverty. A lot of the feedback we've had has said that it's not just about financial impact, but that is definitely a measure and a part of it. In fact, Audit Wales referenced that in their Time for Change report last year, that there's no sort of single source of evidence that defines poverty. But in terms of just being able to explore that and work on sort of a definition that kind of allows us to say how we can identify people and then get the support that they need, that's part of what we want to present in the strategy, and to work out where we go from there. So I don't know if anybody else wants to come in on that.
I haven't been able to check, but isn't 29,500 higher than the average Welsh wage? I mean,
I would say so.
I understand from the annual survey of hours and earnings that the median full-time earnings in Swansea is about 32,000.
Right. So
so yeah, it's kind of in that ballpark. Yeah.
And the government, of course, has set something like 38,500 if you want to, which is more than the average university lecturer earns. So just worth noting that's the unrealistic things there. Are you okay? Anything else, Sue? Do you want to follow up on that? You okay?
No, that's fine, but I do understand what Lee is saying. That it's not just income that creates poverty. And I've got to just comment on our local area coordinators and how effective they are on the ground within the community.
Yeah, I think we'll all second that, Sue. I think obviously we'll look forward to a more worked up definition of poverty when you have the strategy comes out. Just a question on the cost of living. How have you been monitoring the effectiveness and benefits of the cost of living grants for individuals and organisations to ensure it's actually getting to those who need it?
In that one, although Anthony's team are very involved in that work in terms of the monitoring and reporting of our grant schemes. We pulled an impact report together for the grant funds that we provided in 22-23 when we awarded £527,000 worth of grants during that period, and there was a lot of feedback from the organisations that the grants went to, from the people who benefited from those grants, such as receiving food parcels, etc., etc. So there is a lot of evidence that we use that. We do try to balance the qualitative and the quantitative to show not only the statistical impact that the grants have, but also to show the real stories of the people that are being affected by it. So the report that Anthony and his team provided, and I can pull out some quotes, but there's plenty of strong evidence about that, and we're using that then to inform future sort of developments and projects so that we can make sure we're responding to that feedback. But there's plenty of evidence there, yes.
Okay, Mike White, do you want to come in with your question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I endorse the comments of, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. I can
hear you. Can I endorse the comments raised by colleagues of a first-class report being put together by the team there. I'd like to ask in relation to volunteering, which highlights on page 72 of the report, 0.5.3. And how does Swansea Museum share information with schools for opportunities with work experience and volunteering?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I know that volunteering is an option that, or an opportunity that is provided through cultural services, and our colleagues in the museum and libraries and so on do make available opportunities for instance, placements for Duke of Edinburgh and Welsh Baccalaureate opportunities and so on. This is usually referred to on a sort of case-by-case basis in terms of when parents, etc., get in touch and ask for those opportunities, purely on the basis of sort of understanding the capacity and the ability to find the right opportunity for the individual based on their needs and career aspirations. So so there is a process that I'm aware that those colleagues do follow. It's not the sort of thing that is kind of actively promoted in terms of sharing a range of opportunities, but that's exactly what we want to do through the volunteering policy work that we're doing, to put a bit more of a structure and processes in place to allow us to be a bit more proactive in understanding what the council can offer in terms of volunteering opportunities and being able to share that information. So by having things like a toolkit and a handbook that managers can reference, it'll allow us to then be a bit more proactive in terms of making those opportunities available for more.
Okay, Mike, anything else?
So are you saying then schools can actually make referrals to Swansea Museum if they feel as there are pupils that could benefit plus through volunteering that will lead to some work experience?
Yeah, at the moment, that's how it works in terms of the process that they follow. But I think that is something we would look to improve as part of the policy going forward. So yeah, we're very open to looking at different ways to make volunteering opportunities available and to get that information out to the right people.
Yes, okay, very interesting. As I say, well, obviously we sit as governors on schools, and we're very keen that the pupils that schools that we represent gets the opportunity to have the opportunity to be put forward for work experience plus within the services within the local authority.
Okay, Alison, did you want to come in on this?
I was going to, Jen, and I took my hand because I think Mike's question is specifically about schools, I suppose, rather. But I was just going to say that, we do work very closely with the third sector, and our employability and regen teams work a lot alongside with, volunteering, building people's confidence up to get them into work placements that the regen team offer. A lot of people then have become, have had jobs from there. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people are not ready for employment, but they are ready to build their confidence up through the volunteering. So, we only wish we had more volunteers out there, Mike. The third sector everywhere are desperate for volunteers. So we certainly don't look a gift horse in the mouth if we can. There's some departments where you can't have school children in, do you know what I mean? Or anything, but for lots of departments, then I'm sure they'd be grateful for the help.
Okay, thanks, Alison. I just want to refer to the Audit Wales report, Time for Change, Poverty in Wales, which was published in November last year. I had the 8 key recommendations. So I'm just wondering, what's our response to that, and is there anything outstanding as a result of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so that report, we've developed an action plan in response to that report so that we've got the governance in place to monitor how we're progressing. I know 2 of the recommendations were more targeted at Welsh Government in terms of things like the development of a child poverty strategy, but we are involved in those pieces of work as well. Some of the actions we were already, in fact, we were referenced in the report in some cases being cases of best practice in Swansea, such as the impact assessment and the roles that we've got in place in terms of the council for tackling poverty. It's not something that's replicated in all councils in Wales. So there's a few of those recommendations that we're already doing really well. A couple of areas like the development of our tackling poverty strategy will help us to address some of those actions, and we'll be able to put in place things like the performance framework, some of the working practices in terms of how grants are managed, and we're working with Welsh Government on things like, can we have multi-year funding? Can we have simpler processes for applications and so on? And obviously things like lived experience was a key one there that we were already kind of leading on with the Poverty Truth Commission, but we continue to kind of do that work and embed some of those principles into what we do. So I think for the majority of the recommendations, we are delivering or have already delivered, or we're working with Welsh Government and our partners to make sure we continue to deliver that. But we can use our action plan to provide more details on our progress.
Okay. Chris Holly, you've got a question?
Yeah, it's a couple of questions actually. The first one is related to the poverty data 3.4 and the list of super output areas. With respect, Lee, that hasn't changed since I've been elected, and I've been on the councils for 30 odd years. And I would ask, tackling poverty, as been rightly said, is a very complex issue. Primarily, the best way to tackle poverty is to get better jobs all around, but that's not your purview. But I would ask, what are we doing, or what, and I know part of the answer is that it's difficult to actually lift areas out of these particular categories, but have we any specific role? I know back in 2014, the then leader decided that they were going to have a policy that within 5 years, some of these areas would be lifted out of that super output area. Have we seen any major changes? Because that list looks very much the same as it did, as I say, many, many years ago. That's the first one. The second issue...
Should we do one at a time, Chris? Let Lee come
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I understand that absolutely, because I think you're right. Some of this data that we're working off isn't refreshed very frequently. It doesn't seem to change, or it needs to be looked at in the context of the bigger picture. And I think we need to do a bit more work around not just the performance framework, but putting that picture together in terms of being able to provide that and show a progression of change. I certainly think some of the work we'll do on the outcomes will tell us more of the live story, and we'll be able to get a much better data set in terms of seeing the impact of our work actually changing data. So that is something that we're aiming for, and that is something that I think the strategy will help us set that vision and target to deliver. And I think Audit Wales had picked up on it as well in the report about not just the feedback from people with lived experience has said these aren't just the only measures and indicators of poverty, but actually you need different ways of presenting poverty. So things like the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation is part of the picture, but if it's if it's looked at in isolation on its own, it won't tell the full story. So we're trying to do that work to kind of put all of those pieces together and to deliver that. But then that will give us the focus on specific communities, specific areas, and specific actions that we can take.
Chris?
Yeah, as I say, back in 2014, there was a plan put in place to actually do that, and I was wondering whether there's been any significant changes between 14 and now, which is 9 years, but we'll see when that.
I think Anthony wants to come in as well. Sorry, Chris.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thanks for the question, Councillor Holly. The thing to note about the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation is that it is a ranking system. What you can't do with the Welsh Index is compare. It's usually released around every 4 years. They tend to update it, although there are measures within that are updated on a regular basis. But the WIMD itself, what you can't do with it is compare areas to the rankings that took place 4 years ago or the period before that, because it is a ranking system, rather than what you can't do is say a particular area has gone up or down, because it's relative across Wales. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does.
I understand what you're saying about being a ranking system, but it is a system that we have, and it's a system that's been used for many, many years. So that's the reason I asked the question, because it has been around a long time. The other question I want to ask is if somebody can explain the graph, which is under 3.43, Audit Wales dashboard. Very thick at the moment, I'm not sure, but I can't really see what that's actually saying, because again we come to the same thing about the ranking of areas, comparing Swansea and Cardiff, and we all know Cardiff is considerably wealthier than Swansea, and yet this doesn't say that. So can you explain? Somebody explain that.
Is this the table at the top of page 23 in the agenda, Chris? Page 14 in the report?
I'll have to find out. Oh, yeah, 23, correct.
Yeah, okay. Anyone want to try to unravel that for us?
Yeah, I mean, it is an Audit Wales tool that we have been using as part of our look at the overarching data set. So obviously some of this data is replicated on a regional level, and therefore it allows you to give comparators and Wales averages and so on. I got to be honest, we don't kind of have the detail underneath it. We're using this website as a reference tool at the minute, but part of exploring through the performance framework development is to explore where we can get some more meaningful data to underpin it. So to the council's specific question, in terms of comparing the authorities there, I mean, this is just presented as an example and a snapshot based on what the model currently says. So we could go away and look at that in terms of what the specific indicators mean and how we can explore that a bit more. But unfortunately, the presentation of it doesn't allow us to just show Swansea's in isolation.
It seems to me this is the sort of output measurements that you actually need to actually see how successful you're being.
Yes, indeed. But if the sort of core data that allows us to explore that in different ways will help us to get to the root of the problems that we need to address. And I think at the minute, the dashboards that we have access to are at a national level, and they look at pictures in a very broad sense, whereas we want to develop more of a framework for our local data and look at the local factors and things like that. But yeah, absolutely, this is the sort of thing that we've got to work with.
Those figures are Swansea specific, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are. So you've got the figures for Swansea there.
Yes, it's going into where did that data come from. So we want to explore that with the likes of Audit Wales and Data Cymru, so that we can understand and unpick it a little bit, so that we can then explore, is it certain communities, or is it certain areas, or is it certain factors? But yeah, absolutely, this is just our dashboard representation of that data. The detail is really in there.
Okay, Chris, anything else?
Yeah, what I'm saying is this: the first one, adult 16 plus in material deprivation. What does 14? What is it? 14%? Because on the end there, it's the Welsh average of 13%. So I'm assuming it's 14%. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then the one under that, I understand they can't give us complete breakdown on it, because that's it's not the graph as such. It's a graph from the Welsh Audit Office. But I think when we have this type of thing, it's important that members are told what's behind this, you know, because I think it's all with respect. It's a lot of this is to do with presentation by organisations, and we're lifting things up. So I'd like to know in the future if we can have an idea of what that graph in particular, that type of graph actually means in reality.
Okay, Amy.
Yeah, just to summarise on this, I think what we gave this as an illustration. This is a new tool that got launched in the last 12 months to try and give a Wales-wide position on this. So there can be some drilling down of this data. I think what Lee and Anthony have been saying as well is this is why we want to make sure we've got our local data set, so we can give you that information and be very confident in the validation of that data, of what's behind it and where it's from. So whether we're talking about income levels, whether we're talking about educational attainment, you know, any of these sort of measures that might be within the poverty measures. Yeah,
okay,
that's helpful.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time until we get some other stuff from the department.
We'll look at the strategy next year, middle of next year, and we'll hopefully have a much better idea then from the data sets they're using for that strategy, which might be able to improve on this, Chris. So hopefully we'll have another go at this in about 6 months. Yeah. Lyndon Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Holly mentioned, a very important point there about one of the key things are better jobs, really. And I know that Education Scrutiny looks very much at how the skills partnership is working, which was put together by the PDC, which is making sure that our people in schools have got those right skills. What contact are the departments having with Welsh Government? Because ultimately we are the worst performing part of the UK when it comes to the economy. So obviously that is key to the success in Wales, and we need to be making sure we're getting the best bang for our buck, really, to make sure those jobs are being created, because we want our children to stay in Swansea. We need to get those better jobs, but those better jobs need to be created.
I think Alison's going to give you a political answer. Alison.
No, I was just going to reassure Lyndon, really, that, and I might get the abbreviations wrong because they're not my strong point in life, and I want to see us C4W, or Amy can correct me, but the employability programme, one of the programmes that we run about getting people into work, we actually rank at the highest. We have lately just dropped by one to a second place for 1 month. We hope to get it back to top, but we actually have been getting far higher than our targets of people into work. We have multiple programmes working right across Swansea in partnership with the whole world and the mother to try and create jobs. And Lyndon, be very pleased to hear we've got a very successful scheme from the prison now up and running. We've actually got an officer dedicated in there as well to get in the boys in Swansea prison. The women are far more complex coming back from Gloucester sort of thing, but there's a pathway. Do you know what I mean? So the officers can take over, but just to reassure everyone, we're actually doing very well on getting people into work here. Do
the officers want to add anything to that, or no? No, okay.
Can I, Chair, come back and say, the only point I was going to make is to thank Alison, because she and I have worked on a number of projects, and also, where people are in poverty, how we've tried to help them as well. So big thanks, Alison.
Thanks, Lyndon.
Okay, can I just go to page 82, 8.1 on the report. You've got a RAG status there for a number of targets. And I noticed that the strategy to support homeless individuals is red. which seems to me to actually be a higher priority than reviewing the council's allocations policy. Now, I know you haven't got the housing officers here, but I think it is worth maintaining the fact that I think that is an issue which does need to be addressed. I know Mark Wade is here. I don't know if he wants to say something on this, but I think it's very important that that in particular is quite important in terms of helping people stay out off the streets and off people's sofas. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the original sort of step and intention there, yeah, this was all about supporting homeless individuals, providing the support following on the back of the COVID pandemic and the reliance we had on bed and breakfast, etc. So I think the increase in homeless presentations has obviously impacted on housing colleagues and the teams that are working really hard to get those solutions in place and to help people in those situations. So what we're going to do is, obviously we want to carry on working collaboratively to look at those strategies. And I know that they are still doing that work, but they want to kind of reschedule it basically and put that target into next year. So, but you're absolutely right in terms of the council's housing allocation policy. There's like a combination of things there that housing colleagues are working really hard on.
I mean, there is a third sector solution here. I mean, Crisis have a very good scheme, which was one of my Lord Mayor's charities, and it's the current Lord Mayor's charity in helping people back to work, homeless people back to work. And it just seemed to me that you actually have made for a solution that's ready to be picked up and worked with and expanded if possible. So, I do think this needs to be prioritised more than just pushing into the next year. Just want to make that point. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any questions? I've got one more then, if no one else wants to come. This is a political question for you, Alison. Mark Drakeford, when he was doing his interviews on Sunday, he said that he felt one of the things he felt needed to be done more was tackling child poverty. He felt that was a failure of since devolution. So I'm just wondering, what do you think could be done differently, or is needed to be to make a bigger difference in the years ahead? What are you going to be saying to the new First Minister about this?
There's obviously more can be done. I firmly believe, and this is my opinion, I firmly believe that poverty is a political choice. That better decisions can be made at all levels on how to prevent poverty, to how to improve the lives of people, and for and I say that in the sense that, there are some things that I would say are not as important politically as poverty from a national level. I think and to be fair to Mark Drakeford, he's worked on the ground for many years in probation in Ely. I remember from my days in Ely, he has seen poverty, firsthand. And I think that, there is far more that can be done. And we see that, we try and be creative, we try and be innovative, we try and, but it is everybody's responsibility. And I think sometimes it's just very easy to leave it to certain departments. What I would like to see politically is a minister that is dedicated to poverty. So it's not that it's just part of somebody's role. I think that it should be, and then perhaps we will see even more priority, more focus sort of thing on it. So I don't think Mark is wrong. I think that his views differ to Westminster and everything, do you know what I mean, and to the national parties, and he would see it, I think, like I see it, Chair, that better decisions could be made. And even to, staff have just had back pays, and which you'd think would be fabulous, and we're bringing them up to improve the level, like Sue Jones was talking about earlier. But then they've all been absolutely crippled with the universal credit. Any of them that were claiming universal credit, what they've been given with one hand has been taken away with the other, because the universal credit stopped because they had a back pay. Do you know what I mean? It's really cruel out there, and so I think that there's lots more that can be done, Chair. So, and I think all political parties should be pulling their weight on this and trying to improve the lives of people.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. This is not an easy job at all. I the one thing that struck me when I heard Mark Dreyfus say that was that in the near 25 years we've had devolution, the failure to get the Welsh economy back on track has been a major contributor to child poverty, and I think the Welsh government share their responsibility in terms of doing that.
Yeah, and he would take it personally, and he would feel that you know, but you can only work with the hand you dealt, can't you? Do you know what I mean? You can, you know, and sometimes we have huge restrictions on us, and also unrealistic timelines. Sometimes, you know, sometimes these grants come in, and that's a Welsh Assembly issue as well. The Welsh Government issue as well. They come in, and our officers have to turn these grants around at such a speed. You know, maybe there's other local authorities that haven't been able to get together and do things as well. You know, I think that it does cause problems.
Yeah. Okay. Francesca, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, while Alison was talking, then it sort of, my mind started working, and you think about the child poverty, and I think that's going to be such an important thing to concentrate on. And it sort of branches into education, really, because I probably can guarantee that some of these children who are living in poverty, their parents were child deprived areas and what have you. And you just think, surely is there something that the council are doing? Perhaps they're doing, and I'm not aware of it, but where we go into schools and, you know, even just basic stuff like, you know, how, you know, budgeting. I know it sounds really daft, but, you know, sometimes children just really don't have a clue. You know, they have money, they're not sure how to budget for food, electricity, you know, and they take it for granted. And I'm not saying that gets them out of child poverty, but I think if we can equip them with the tools, you know, from an early age, I don't know that it could be, I know Alison, you're probably going to come back and say it is already been done, but I just wondered if that's, because that's so important to have that early intervention and to give them the skills to go on. But thanks, Alison.
That's okay. No, I 100% agree. And I think that unfortunately, I think it comes down to how much the schools want to do, or how much they can. A good example would be the credit union. They offer to work with schools, and many schools in Swansea took them up on the offer, and they set the children up with like a little account, you know, and then the children can bring in a bit of savings every week, 50 pence or whatever, do you know what I mean, every week. And they were teaching the children how to manage that money and manage the account, do you know what I mean? And just to get children used to learning the value of money and savings and everything. And lots of schools did come on board with it, lots didn't. I think probably more in deprived areas, most schools are keener to sort of do those sort of things. And there are pockets, lots of that, but I 100% agree with you. I would like to see children educated in school on budgeting, on all the things that you have to be equipped for the minute you leave, how to manage your wage, how to manage whatever. I would like to see far more practical things taught in school. So I totally agree with you, Francesca, but there are excellent pockets of work out there. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. I just think it almost should be in every school, because we shouldn't be selecting just those perhaps in you know, my friends and teachers are in Town Hill, Blind Mice, you know, and they obviously have got a lot of child poverty there. But there's also, you know, families that go unnoticed in dare I say, more affluent areas that we don't quite scratch the surface on. And I just think if every child had that opportunity, and also for them to teach that what is essential and a luxury item, because I think, you know, children these days, there's so many things out there that we forget what's important, and, you know, those are your basics for everyday living. Those items there are the luxury items. So I know it sounds a bit, you know, teaching people to suck eggs, but I think
no, but
go back to basics as well.
And that's what you were saying about generational poverty, absolutely. And that is a huge issue across the country, not just Wales, across Britain, you know, and you know, it does need outside help, and that's why, fortunately, we have got a lot of early help hubs. We have got our employability officers spend a long time doing this before someone is ready to work, because if they can't manage to be able to put food on the table, or they can't manage them, do you know what I mean? There's all our work has to work, but it'd be nice if it was done earlier so that they're a step ahead for when they are ready for work. So I don't disagree with her.
Okay, with that outbreak of agreement, I'm going to bring Lyndon Jones in.
And I was going to say the thing that we were at a meeting of Partneiriaeth about 2 months ago, and there's something going on in some of the schools called poverty proofing, and we had the head of Birchgrove Comprehensive School who was really tackling this, and it was, I have to tell you, impressive, because there was an example there of children in poverty and what they were actually doing to help them and to recognize what those challenges were. I was so impressed, actually. I actually rang him the next day to say thank you, but it really is worth listening to what they have to say. And I did raise it at our education scrutiny the other day as well, and a real good example of work that was going on. So
Andrew is exceptional. He is. I know he's the head teacher in my ward. I appreciate that. I can't take credit for him, but he is absolutely amazing.
But I did ring him, as I say, because I was
well
so
done,
impressed.
It was a very impressive presentation, to be fair. And anybody else got any questions? To anyone else at all? No. Okay. Can I thank you, Alison, and Amy, and Lee, and Anthony for coming along and speaking to us. It was very helpful and very useful. And I think we'll come back to this when you've got the draft strategy published during the consultation period. We'll try and fit that onto the programme, because I think it's quite important that we have an input into your final document if we can. Okay, moving on to item 7, which is the scrutiny of Cabinet Member Portfolio Responsibility Support for Businesses. Can I welcome Councillor Robert Francis Davis? And I think you're supported by Mark Wade and Director of Place, Phil Holmes, Head of Planning and City Regeneration, Paul Relf, Strategic Economic Regeneration Manager, Claire James is here as well, Matt Callahan and Steve Williams. So you've got a cast of thousands there, Robert. Assuming we've read your report, would you like to just briefly introduce it to you and the officers?
Yeah, I'm glad I came in early actually and listened to the earlier presentation, because just goes to show how important support for business is. You yourself turned around and said getting people back into work is extremely important, and I would agree 100% with that. Tackling poverty was said about getting better jobs. I suppose this is where the joined up thinking should be come in. And coming out of COVID, and everybody knows that COVID was really bad for the business industry throughout the country. We're particularly worried about Swansea. And different things that we did, like market traders, we used ERF money, we helped with the rents right the way through the Swansea market, and looking at other grants. And thankfully, Swansea, we got an exceptionally good team, and Phil Holmes and Mark Wade, Paul Relf, and there's a great team together. I'd like to thank Matt Callahan for putting this report together, to be honest. Really good report. And our objectives, as you can see in 1.1, to improve the number of, but more importantly, survival rates of new businesses. It's not just about keeping the businesses we got, it's about attracting new businesses. But those businesses we got to do our best to make sure that they survive. We are in a very difficult position in the country, with the cost of living crisis and everything else. And people I talk to are really being hard hit in the cost of living, with interest rates going up and their mortgage repayments. If they, their mortgage might have been fixed, then it goes into, might have gone from sort of 2% up to 6.5%, 7%, 8% even in some cases, taking a huge amount of their disposable income. And that is where we were talking earlier about, and Sue Jones asked a question about what is poverty? And then there could be somebody, and there could be people working for this authority that are on that borderline, and just a little bit over being able to claim universal credit or other benefits, but are in poverty. And I think it's bad that when we got people like working for us that are needing to use food banks. So getting business moving in Swansea is extremely important as far as I'm concerned. We've seen the demise of our retail area with, and not just Swansea, now this is all the United Kingdom, the British Home Stores going, the Burton's Group, the Debenhams, and we are fighting back. I think Swansea is, our footfall is up, but we could be performing better. I think that's a fact we know. And how do we get those getting it better? I think the initiatives we've taken as a local authority in paving the way with the regeneration of the city centre, it's been great to see the private sector now coming on board and investing in Swansea. And the meetings I've had using the different networks we got are saying they are encouraged by the work that Swansea are doing, that they are now reinvesting back in Swansea. Whereas perhaps they were looking more towards Cardiff, they're now looking towards Swansea. When I look at 71, 72 of the Kingsway, due to open sort of May time, that I think will be probably 100% let when it comes in. I think the rentals are going the right way, but Swansea is a good place to invest in. And the work being done by Paul and the team, I'd like to congratulate, the way we use Transforming Towns grant, the Shared Prosperity Fund, and the way we're working with central government and Welsh government, making sure that we can get those grants in and get them out quickly. We are in Swansea providing the backup for the Shared Prosperity Fund for all of the Swansea Bay region, Neathcote, Talbot, Carmarthen, Pembroke, all the workers going out of there. You see them all here today. It looks like a bit of an army, but then there's an army of work for them as well. So the grants have been well received, and I think all of you know that the ERF money that we put out doing shop fronts in all our communities, not all that has gone out yet, but we're getting through it at a pace, and I think that is great for our communities, because it's not just about the city centre, it's having good communities that make up what Swansea, what it is. So you've got the report there. Happy to take any questions. The team are here, as you say, mob-handed perhaps, but they're all here to be able to give that information. But it's great following on after the discussion we've had on poverty, because the only way we'll get people out of poverty is get people back in work. And I believe a strong city centre, a strong regional, as Swansea being the city, and I've always said the capital of West Wales, we need to have that strong central base, strong community use, and making people in the West Wales region look towards Swansea for its trading and for job creation. The people we represent don't recognise boundaries. They just want to come and get jobs wherever they may be, whether it's in Neathcote, Talbot. I'm encouraged by seeing down in Milford and in Neathcote, Talbot going to be a free port. I think that will help. But I would be looking at this point, perhaps we're not the investment zone, but let's work on that, work with our partners, our neighbours, to make sure that we thrive, and getting more people living back in the city centre. And some of the grants that have gone out are helping people redevelop the city centre, better shopping, but getting people living above the shops and making good use of those places that have been void for many, many years.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I think, as you mentioned, the developments in the city centre, I think it's worth just paying tribute to the huge amount of work that Hugh Mowbray put into doing that, and to be greatly missed by this authority.
And I would echo that. Hugh Mowbray was a one-off, really, really dedicated to Swansea, and the man has left his mark. I think we should celebrate his life and celebrate his contribution to Swansea.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mike, you want to start off the questions? I would have
Yes,
brought Councillor, but he took all the time up.
Yes,
Sorry, Michael.
thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to ask a question under this agenda item 7 in regards to page 95, 0.4.5 business grants. And my question is then, are you able to advise if the recent investment in Swansea market has encouraged local businesses to apply for business grants to take up occupancy at this location? And do you know as to what percentage of units are now occupied there?
Who's going to take that one?
Claire will take this.
Thank you, Claire.
Yes, I can start. Yes, in regards to business grants, there have been grants supported for businesses in Swansea Council. There's been a startup grant where the applicant is now running a business out of the market, and they're also coming forward for the other suite of business grants. We've got 2. In terms of occupancy, current levels are 94%. So it's currently, that's very high. So yes, business support available to the businesses in the market, and they are taking advantage of that. Do you want to say anything specific?
Stephen?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. What I will say is we have supported a few stall holders within the market, not only with grants but also attending at business support events and our introduction to self-employment as well. So we have had some market traders actually come through the door and engaging with our support.
Okay.
And the 94% is very high, for any market, exceptionally high. You'll always get a voice. You always get a churn, a turnover there. There's a new manager in the market, and I think it is a real gem. I think any city would sort of, look at Swansea with envy of the quality of our market. Could always be better. That needs money. I personally would like to see more money spent on our entrances into the market. I think they could be improved. But other than that, it's a fabulous place.
It does help having one of the best markets in Wales and possibly the UK, doesn't it? Yeah. Mike, do you want to come back on anything?
Yeah, as I say, some of the new occupiers are they run by local family businesses?
I think the vast majority of the businesses in Swansea market are local.
Yeah.
Whether they're all in Swansea, I would all say the Swansea Bay City region. And I think that's exceptionally important. But it's the independent sector is very strong there.
I think Phil Holmes wants to come in as well, Phil.
Yeah, just to add to the response to the first question, we've done a lot as well working with trying to get a new audience of customers for the market. Of course, the market's got a loyal customer base, but it is an aging sort of customer base, if you like. So we've been working a lot over the last couple of years, really trying to promote it to a younger audience, in particular the universities. That's really sort of bear fruit for everyone. We've seen footfall increasing in the market, and the other thing as well, which in terms of investments, of course, the Market Garden project, I don't know if anyone's seen that in the market, it's been very successful. And what it's done, it's helped the dwell time, I think, for shoppers in the market. So instead of people just using the market as a means of going from A to B and walking through into the quadrant, it's encouraging people to stay and perhaps shop and visit perhaps stores that they hadn't previously because of that offer. That's a new dimension. So, and of course, as you mentioned, Chair, the awards that we've won, Britain's best large indoor market, things like that don't come easily, and it is due to the offer that we've got, the traders, the staff, everything really. So it's something that we should all be really proud of.
I have to say, I have visited some shocking indoor markets in my time, and Swansea really does stand out. Mike, did you want to come back on anything? Are you okay?
No, as I say, but I probably use the market 3 times a week, and what Mr. Holmes said about the new feature they put in there, it's nice that the people are using that, but obviously they see that they purchasing from the stallholders there within the market as well. So it's a sort of win-win there, really.
Okay, great, thank you. I wanted to come back on a question now. The report highlights the work of Business Swansea, which was launched in April 2021, and it does feel actually that we've had this gap happening with the pandemic, 2 years of the pandemic, but just picking up again from where we were back in 21 when that was launched. That's been delivered by the Economic Regeneration team. So what's the biggest difference that this new support service has made, and can you outline some of the successes in terms of people help, the value of services to local economy, etc.?
Yeah, happy to take that one initially.
Matt, yeah.
I think the theme that comes hopefully across in the report is the fact that the business landscape, the business support landscape up until now has been overwhelming, has been confusing, and I don't blame businesses for that. I would agree that it has been multi-agencies working across a range of business support services that's changing week by week, month by month. So the starting objective, I think, with the Business Swansea service that we've brought together is to try and simplify that and have a single point of delivery, act as honest broker, if you like, and make sure the point of access that businesses have to business support is coordinated through Swansea Council and the business support services that we're able to offer in terms of the grant, in terms of the events. It's highlighted in the report. So effectively simplifying that process, I think, has been a real success for us. Communication's clearly been at the heart of that in terms of the communication channels that we've got set up. So I think there's this overarching theme of bringing together, simplifying things through a single point of access and making sure that businesses are not just aware of support that's available to them, but more importantly, that going forward, they're engaging with that. So that's kind of like the overarching, but in terms of numbers, I think the business grants that we've delivered, both currently through SPF, but before that through Community Renewal Fund, Welsh Government funding, have had a real impact, both in terms of the numbers of businesses that we've supported, the impact that's had, but also the amount of funding that's been distributed to the local business community through that and onward through local supply chains as a result of that. So just to give you some sort of overarching figures, in terms of Welsh Government and Community Renewal Fund, we've distributed 154 business grants worth £153,000. Currently under SPF, which has been live for less than a year, we've got 70 live applications worth £642,000 currently either having been or are about to be distributed to the local community. So a lot of work going on, and I think that impact is tangible, as you will have seen from some of the press releases that have gone out recently highlighting some of our grant recipients.
If I could also add something about our events programme, Chair. Our events programme has been very successful thus far. We do realise that a grant is good with regards to providing financial support, but we also need that wraparound support to actually engage with businesses and give them the right advice. And we do utilise local business experts who've got the necessary business IQ to come in and actually deliver that at our workshops. So I think that's key, keeping it within Swansea and spreading that wealth of knowledge to Swansea businesses, which I think is a very good thing. Since obviously we started, we've had 600 registered attendees at our events. We've also got a Business Swansea YouTube channel, which has got just about 1,800 views. There's a combined total of 2,500 businesses or individuals looking to start a business that have been supported. And obviously, as Matt has said as well, obviously when we started, the business support landscape wasn't really coordinated. One thing that we have done from the outset is to actually set up quarterly meetings with our business support partner organisations, ensuring that every month we actually share business support events with each other and obviously to the businesses and people that we are supporting. But obviously, more importantly, actually having those quarterly meetings, and I think we've got 20 members of organisations providing business support within Swansea, working in partnership with them, but actually promoting that to the business community and raising awareness through not only our comms, our central comms, and obviously our partner organisations as comms as well.
Okay, I haven't actually done this, but if I was say someone wanted to start a micro business and I went on the council website and I typed in business support, would that take me to a page which would actually help me?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
There's a page there of not only our support, but our partner organisation support as well. And we do also hold monthly business support surgeries around Swansea, with not only ourselves, Business Swansea in attendance, Business Wales, Development Bank of Wales, Gower College, our colleagues in employability, pathways to work for businesses looking to engage with recruitment support, and also Gower College with their employer training courses as well.
And the universities?
We do engage with the universities, especially around innovation. And this is probably going to cut, but we are due to launch an innovation grant in January, and we are engaged with the universities with regards to that.
That's great, thank you.
So just come back with one further point. Thank you, Chair. Steve's covered the events, I've covered the business grants and sort of this overall approach that we've got. But I think it's important to highlight that everything that we do are hooks into each other.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that a business coming along to, for example, our introduction to self-employment, we can hook them into our pre-start grant, or alternatively, businesses coming in for our grants, we can then hook them into the wider business support that we've got. So one means of intervention that we've got, be it events, grants, whatever it might be, is a hook into the wider programme that we've got, and then again, increasing that engagement with support that's available to local businesses.
Okay, Robert, you want to come in?
Yeah, the team are just not sitting back waiting for people to contact us. They're very proactive in going out, meeting people. There's a magazine they brought along, Swansea Business Guide 2023. Perhaps that can be put into people's pigeonholes for them to pick up. I think it is important, but it's like the Swansea Business Club. You've got the Ospreys have a business club, the Swans have a business club. They're all doing business clubs, but I think the more we can get out to people and help people, there are grants available, but getting the message out to people what grants are available is not easy.
Yeah.
And the time scale, whether it's from Welsh government or central government, is not great. You know, we get the money, we got to get it out by a certain date and spent. And one thing, and Lyndon will probably collapse now when I say the money coming from the Shared Prosperity Fund from central government coming direct to local government here, I think has actually speeded up how we can get those grants up. I think it's been really good. So I'm really pleased that has happened. I can understand politically perhaps why it's happened, but you know, I think when we can get that money in and get it out to businesses in need quickly, that's half the answer. But it's getting out to the businesses there that this money is available, what the criteria is, and how they apply for it. And I think it's like Steve just mentioned, 640 or something like that grants have gone out quickly in the last year. So that's an enormous amount of work, but you know, congratulations to them.
I'm sure Lyndon will pass that back to Rishi Sunak for you. Okay, yeah. Sue Jones. Struggling to unmute, I think.
Think she's on mute.
Yeah.
It's just come through. They've answered my question. I was going to ask them to outline the support for businesses, and well done. You've got it all covered from events and various things. So yes, if we can have information out in the community to pass on to our businesses, that would be tremendous. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Stephen. Yeah.
We have arranged a member briefing in January as well, which you would have been invited to. So we look forward to seeing you then.
That'd be very helpful. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. Just picking up on an issue which was we picked up in 21, and the Park for Lindra. Just wondering what the current situation is with the Park for Lindra site, which has been an area of focus for Business Swansea. Where are we with that at the moment?
I will take it.
Yeah, I can cover that. Yeah, it's not part of Business Swansea, that it doesn't sit here, it sits in another part of the service area.
Yeah.
But the update on that one is that JLL are engaged as the marketing partner on that, and they are undertaking that work. They're being proactive. They're producing regular mail shots to agents and developers to make them aware. They've done a refresh and a mini relaunch earlier this year of all the marketing material of the site. Monthly meetings are held with the officers working on Park Velindre with the marketing agents to review all the inquiries that come through. Anything urgent that comes through quicker than that is dealt with on a day-to-day basis. And at the moment, they are working through a number of live inquiries on that.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that then. Lovely, thank you. Has anybody else got any questions for the business support team? It's been a very interesting report.
Chris has got his hand up.
Oh, Chris, I didn't see you there. Carry on.
Yeah, the question about Park Velindre is one, it's a perennial one. You know, at the end of the day, the millions that were spent on it, and the fact that, you know, we haven't had any real interest in actually developing it. We've introduced quite a few groups to it and a few companies, but nothing has actually happened. The one thing I do want to inquire about is we spent money putting services in there. Now, are all the services in there, the drains, the water, electricity, gas, etc., are all the services on site, and are they ready to go if another comes along and wishes to open the factory? Not so much a distribution warehouse, because they may not need all those services, but are all the services there? Because we had quite a few £1 million to do that, and it would be nice if they're doing this marketing, if they relaunch or whatever they do, that we are confident that everything that is needed is on that site.
Okay. Claire, do you have...
I'm almost certain that the answer is yes to that, but just to make sure, as you say, Chris, time moves on. We'll put that the answer to you in writing.
Yeah, we will include it in the letter to you, Robin, so you can come back to us on that. Yeah. Okay, Chris. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
I see Phil has got his hand up, but yeah.
Oh,
but yes.
Yeah, I was just going to give you.
Right
I was just going to give you categorical assurance that yes, all those services are there, and there's no impediment to any developer who comes along. If it's the right developer and it's the right site for them and it works for us, absolutely. And as Claire said, it's being marketed intensively. We do have live inquiries, and you know, I'd love to be able to report some positive news in the new year, but like you, I know better than to do that with Velindre, because you've had so many false dawns, but things are looking better, I would say that, and just to say yes, the services are all there.
Okay. No need to write to you then. Excellent. Thank you, Phil. That's very helpful. Chris?
Well, on that, you know, obviously, I don't want you to mention any names. Obviously, it would be wrong and improper anyway. But obviously, we've had numerous inquiries. We've had people come along. We've had fancy drawings and what have you. So I do hope that at some stage, our investment and our hopes are, you know, come forward and we have something on that site.
I think that's we all
Absolutely.
feel the same way. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Can I thank you all for coming along and presenting the report? It's been very interesting. I look forward to the seminar on business in January. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can we wish everybody here Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year?
Indeed, yes. And
plenty of investment.
Back at you, yes. Okay, next item is item 8, which is the Scrutiny Performance Panel Progress Report. Today we're looking at Adult Services Scrutiny Performance Panel. So, Sue, do you have anything to add to the written report which you've circulated for us?
No, nothing to add. And if anybody's got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Does anybody have anything you want to raise on this report at all? No? Okay, thank you for that, Sue. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 10 is the Scrutiny Work Programme. As you can see, item 9, missed item 9. Yeah. Sorry, item 9 is the membership. That's why Sam is sitting next to me to remind me about these things. Item 9 is the membership of scrutiny panels and working groups. There's one change, which is that Councillor Sandra Joyce coming off the Community Assets Inquiry Panel. Okay, now item 10, the scrutiny work programme, which is in front of you. There's just to highlight that the scrutiny inquiry and antisocial behaviour is going to the Cabinet on Thursday. Terry Hennigan's presenting that on behalf of the group which he chaired. And the next meeting on the 16th of January, we're going to be looking at economy, finance and strategy with the leader, and also a follow-up on the road safety scrutiny working group. And also just to flag up the final sessions of the scrutiny training and development programme, which can be held in 2 parts. The first one on the 17th of January, which will be online, and the second, which will be on the 23rd of January, which is in person in the Lord Mayor's reception room. Has anybody got anything they want to raise on this particular item at all? No? Okay. Item 11, scrutiny letters are there for information. Item 12, the date and time of the upcoming scrutiny panel working group meetings are also there for information. And the next meeting is on the 16th of January at 4 p.m. Can I wish you all a very happy Christmas and a prosperous new year, and don't drink too much. I hope to see you in the new year. Thank you very much. Thank you.